Welcome along to episode 5 of the Royal Link Up podcast. We are 19 days away from the 2024 annual Royal Link Up. I am your host, the amazing Sniper Beef, joined by my co host.
Hello, guys. Devastate here again, and welcome to the Royal Link Up podcast. Hope you enjoyed last week's episode with Ace. We had some great chats in there. Hopefully, everyone watched the end and entered into the competition. So, if you haven't watched it, make sure you do that. But I'm raring to go on episode number 5, and we have another special guest with us.
We do. We have a very special guest. Special guest, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Acidic Virus.
Nice. Acidic Virus is here to join us, and we're going to find a little bit more about him today. But for those of you who've never seen or heard of the Link Up podcast before, let me give you a brief overview of what the Link Up is. So the Link Up has been running for 26 years. This is the 26th year. The Link Up is essentially where a group of us, usually it's between 10 and 15 of us, take a week off work. We take our PCs, our desks, our chairs, go to one of our houses, clear the house out, connect all the PCs up, play PC games, and order takeaway twice a day for a week. It's honestly one of the greatest weeks of the year, and we've been doing it for, this is the 26th year. This is my 23rd year, so I've been here quite a long time, as has both of my co-hosts today. But yes, hopefully that'll give you an overview of the Link Up. As Devastate said, we're here today to get an overview of one of the OG gamers in Acidic Virus. So without due course, let me dive into some of the questions, if that's all right with you, Acidic Virus.
Yeah, fire away, my man.
I'll call you Acidic rather than Acidic Virus. It's a little bit shorter.
Call me whatever you like.
Sweetheart, darling. What is your earliest memory of gaming, and how did you really get into gaming?
So I guess my earliest memory would be my aunt and uncle, when we were quite young. So I think it must have been early 90s, very early 90s, would sometimes come round and stay over for the weekend. And he had a Spectrum, a ZX Spectrum, that I remember playing games like Attic Attack, Horoscope Skiing, Bullseye. I remember it had a little gun, and you played darts, but you fired it with a gun for Bullseye. And
That bit like Duck Hunt with a light gun on the NES.
Yeah, kind of along that vein, yeah. But I just remember you could go like straight up to the TV and press it to get the bullseye. But no, that would probably be my first gaming. But shortly after that, around that time, my dad brought home a compact. I think it was some sort of compact PC, which I'm guessing must have been like a 286 maybe. He's always worked with electronics, so he used to build. He used to be able to, back in the day, they would have spare parts where he worked. So with the computers, if something was obsolete or they changed it out, they just had like this massive like bin. You think like one of those like laundry carts,
Yeah.
and it would just have bits and pieces in that people were allowed to take home back then. So he built, his first PC and my brother's and mine, just using free spare parts from work, which was pretty awesome.
So when would have that been? What, like early 90s, mid 90s?
That would have been early 90s. Yeah, I was quite. I don't remember. Yeah, it must have been like 1991, something like that. For the.
Wow, you got your PC so much earlier than me.
I think if it was a 286, that would have been about 92, 93. Because I think you had the 386 and the 486, and the first proper Pentium came out. Proper Pentium, I think, came out in 96 in the UK.
Yeah, I think my first PC that he built for me, I want to say I was probably like 12, maybe. And it was a 386 DX. And me, my brother, and my dad had one. So we used to play the original Doom, networked up between the three of us, playing through the levels. Not really deathmatch, but Hexen, Heretic, all of those clones. We used to play. But I remember when I first got my PC, and he told me like how you do things, how you load on games, because back then there was no Windows. There was Windows 3, 3.1, 3.11, but no 95. Everything was DOS, so you had to type in installing, loading your games. And I thought I was like, Yeah, I knew what I was doing, so I remember installing a game, a demo. Back then, you used to get the old floppy disks with the PC magazines with
Yeah.
demos, and sometimes a free game on there, or a shareware, the first few levels. And I remember completing this demo and thinking, yeah, cool, I'm gonna put something else on. Right, I'm gonna delete this game from my hard drive and then load something else on. But we got the command slightly wrong, and instead of deleting the game and the directory, we deleted our whole C drive. So I then had to go to Dad and Kate to reinstall everything
Oh
on my
dear.
PC.
Unbelievable skills.
But that was also when games, just to go back, like Doom would have come on about 20 floppy drives at that time. I remember games, and a game would come in a box of floppy drives.
Yeah.
I think like Windows 11 was like 30 floppy disks just to install.
Like I think one of the best games I remember from back in the day was Hero Quest. So if you're a bit of a nerd,
Great board game as
great
well.
board game, but like you can play it on browsers these days, but I remember playing it on the 386, and it's still. I played it last year. I dipped in and played on it. It's still a really good game, but yeah, that thing would come on 6 discs,
Yeah.
and back then you have to authenticate by. You'd have obviously you get manuals back then as well with your games, and to copyright, make sure that you haven't stolen stuff. You'd have to have the manual because you'd have to enter in like, oh, they'd all have like the different games would have different ways to identify like what you needed to get in and play the game. So like for Hero Quest, they used to have different shields on every single page, and you would have to like find what shield was shown before it let you in the game, or it just kicked you out and wouldn't let you play it. Or it'd be like, what is sentence 3? What's word 3 on the third paragraph on page 57? And you'd have to go and have the manual to go in to be able to actually get in and play the game. Which was.
Can you imagine the kids nowadays? Like if you have to do that with Fortnite and you have to like read the instruction
Oh
manual.
God!
Can
Yeah,
you imagine?
no chance. Instructions. I mean, who reads instructions these days? I still do. Kids definitely do. They don't even read the tutorial, man. I get so frustrated with my kids because they're like, I want to play this game. I'm like, all right, cool, yeah. Going through, not reading any of the tutorial. Then like, how do I play? And I'm like,
Go play the tutorial.
But adults do the same thing as well. I know 1 or 2 people that definitely don't read the tutorials or anything to do with quests or stories when they're playing a game, and then they're like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yep, that's me. All over.
That would explain your questionable gaming then, yeah.
Well, I mean, I am the amazing Sniper Beef, greatest sniper you've ever seen in all of gaming plus Halo 2.
Yeah.
So yeah, acidic virus has been gaining for a very long time, as have we all. But that was his best memory. So, where did your sort of gaming career or gaming sort of introduction sort of go from there onwards? Obviously you got I guess you would have gone into like a Pentium. Did you get like a NES or any consoles like that?
So like I've always had a PC since that time. Slowly upgraded again through 3 bits. 486 back then got upgraded to that, which was equivalent to a Pentium 90. And for like the longest time, like years and years and years, you could pretty much run anything that required a Pentium 90 or a Pentium 133 could be run on a 386. Video cards weren't really a thing back then. And so the machine would last in its state as a 486. It could pretty much play anything for a good few years.
Yeah.
But I got a PlayStation. I remember I got before the PlayStation, I got a Super Nintendo.
So you didn't have the original NES?
PC. No. I remember a friend that you and I went to school had one, and I remember playing on his NES. And then this was before I got the PC anyway, so. It would have been a couple of years before that. My brother got a Mega Drive for his birthday as a surprise, and then I got a Super Nintendo as a surprise for Christmas. Came with Super Mario World. Still a fantastic game, man. It's definitely one of the best games. But yeah, so I had a Super Nintendo, rolled into a PC, got a PlayStation, probably maybe around the same time, or a couple of years out, a year or so after I got my PC as well. Got it
late 90s, yeah.
No, it would have been. It would have been like midnight. It would have been like 90. What are we looking at? 90. I'm trying to think what year I
PS1
was
was
in. Like,
94, wasn't it?
yeah, I got it. Must have got it like 97, 98, because I got it with Final Fantasy 7, which I think it's funny how you can look back and something so simple kind of ends up being a pivotal point in how your life progresses, right? So
Mm.
I wanted a PlayStation, and I asked for one for Christmas from my parents, and I said, look, there's two games I'm interested in, either Tomb Raider or Final Fantasy 7. Now, I'd never played an RPG in my life. It just looked really cool. Everyone was saying it was great. It took me a long time to work out how to play that game properly. But from playing that game and it becoming arguably like the most nostalgic and favorite game of all time for me, definitely top 3, I think shaped, I went in and was playing other RPGs, moved into MMOs, and I think it's kind of funny. What if my parents had brought me Tomb Raider, which is like the complete opposite? It's like just like an action adventure game. It would have kind of taken, kind of shaped my tastes in games in a different way.
Yeah, I think to your point on that, we asked Ace this last week because he's a very big Final Fantasy player.
Yeah,
What's
we
your
used to
view
play
on
together.
what's your view on because obviously Devastate and I are not Final Fantasy players really. What's your view on Final Fantasy Rebirth? Because we had a question in one of the TikTok comments saying, "Oh, what do you guys think of Rebirth?" And I was like, "Well, I'm personally not a massive Final Fantasy fan, but Ace was like, yeah, I kind of get it, but he wasn't like 100% sold on it, if that makes sense."
I have not played the remastered versions of 7, either of them. I did want to play it. I thought I wanted to play it. I prepared myself for playing it. Originally, I got a PlayStation 4 purely for the fact that when they announced they were doing a remastered version, that it would be out on the PS4. This was like 3 years or so before it actually ended up coming out. I chose a phone package that came with a PlayStation because I was like, I've got to play Final Fantasy 7 when it comes out, and and I played the demo, and I actually started playing Final Fantasy 7, the original, again in preparation to then
To get the
go through the
feels.
whole game
Yeah.
and then go in and play it. And I decided against that, and I haven't touched it. I think I'm a little bit scared, purely because
It'll ruin
I
the nostalgia for you.
I think it will. Like, there's going to be a lot of padding to the game. Like, I know for a fact that the original game, like the first part of the game in Midgar, which is the starting area, air quotes, you're probably looking at about 4 or 5 hours of what you do in the gameplay. And the first part of the remake that's literally where you're at, but you've got 40 or 50 hours of content there, right? So how much, to me, it's like, how much padding is there in a game where you take 4 or 5 hours of content and then you expand on it to make 40, 50 hours of things you can do. And I remember watching my brother, he streamed it when it came out, and like I was watching it, some of the quests, it's just like, it's kind of like an MMO. You guys have played MMOs, so
Yeah.
it's like the fetch quest. Go and speak to this person, go and kill 3 of these. I remember watching him, and he had a quest to find like 15 cats hidden in the game, and I mean that is content, but to me that's not Final Fantasy, and I think especially as a game for me that is, like I said, is so very nostalgic and arguably my favorite game of all time. Top 3, I should say, probably now. I think I'm just going to be far too critical of it. I'm just going to see all the flaws and what it isn't. I think I would have just preferred if they had like just revamped it, brand new graphics. And the other thing is the fighting style is very different from 7 and the early Final Fantasies. I haven't played. They kind of moved to a live action fighting sequence, which they moved to when they went to Final Fantasy 15, and I never played 15. I wasn't interested. 16 is the same. I didn't play it. I wasn't that invested in the series anymore, and what for me made it a Final Fantasy and that sort of element of gameplay.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. That's a really good viewpoint on it. So, if Final Fantasy is in your top three, what are the other two?
Top three, top three games of all time.
Yeah,
Oh man. Well, I have to say The Long Dark. That's my jam at the moment, and
and
it's
we'll come on to why
probably
a little
we'll
bit
come on to
later.
why, yeah. Other one I mean, there's so many games that have.
Halo One,
I
Halo One, Halo One.
I loved playing Halo 1 with you. It was it's not top. I think for me, actually, again, because of kind of like what it meant to me and that time of my life, what it kind of led on to would probably be Counter-Strike Source.
Yeah, I was about to say
Ooh.
with your old clan, wasn't it?
That's it, yeah. Counter-Strike Source. Again, this leads on from the Link Up, right?
Yeah.
Link Up played Counter-Strike 0 Hour. When I first started going, that was the game that was kind of being played. I think it's 1.6 was just before me, but they had 0 Hour. I brought the game and it had like a whole load of missions on there, single player that let you go through doing like tasks but trying out all the weapons and stuff. And then when Source came out, we got that for the Link Up and I started
Yep.
playing it. Really enjoyed it. Got online, started playing it outside of the link. Found a server that had like really funny sound alerts and stuff like that for when you kill stuff and people. I just kind of hung out on there and ended up, long story short, joining like a really great community of people.
Do we
Where
mention the community or not?
Yeah, it's like, well, originally it was called No Bullshit Republic,
Yeah,
NBR,
MBR.
and from that was for a good few years. And then when the owner of that said server and back then the forums, he kind of stepped away, wasn't doing the work for it. We all kind of transitioned. I wasn't part of like setting everything up, but a group of the people that were core members of that set up a different one, which then became Total Banter Community, which is, I don't think they have any servers. They might still have like a source server, but basically these guys, I would play this game every night. Like I get home
I
from
remember.
work, I would eat, I would do 5, 6, 7 hours just playing that on our server. I ended up getting like what be like access to the server, as in I subscribed or paid monthly yearly dues to get like privileged access. And back then the servers you held like 20 people, but so many nights you would literally just have all people that were core members just going around 10v10 fragging each other. And we had a meetup in Manchester, and going from that we used to do yearly meetups. We'd all meet up, go up to Manchester and stay with one of the couples. They had a big house, and we just go for a long weekend and just game, just kind of geek out.
Yeah.
Magic, D&D, gaming. But I made so many great friends and memories from that. I think that kind of like ties into. Is it the greatest game? No, but for me, because of the nostalgia and the friendships that I've made through that and the experiences, then it kind of puts it in the top three for me.
Yeah.
Kind of the same really for the Long Dark and for Final Fantasy. I think nostalgia plays a big part. If I was to say what's the best 3 games ever I played, it would probably be a very different list.
Yeah. I think particularly the Counter Strike piece. It was very much of the time, wasn't it? That you found a group of players who all had a affinity for a game. You then got a server off with. From me, it was Halo 2, and we had a clan on Halo 2, and we would literally, like to your point, you get in from work, you just play, and you play
Yeah.
for 5-6 hours straight every night with the
Yeah.
same group of people, and then you go and meet them in real life, and then they become friends that you're for many, many, many years after that, and it's like that just has such a impression on you as a much younger person, because that would have been what, nearly 20 years ago, wouldn't it?
Yep.
So we would have been what, early 20s, something like that. And it was just a massive part of your life back then, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, no, it was great, and it's a nice thing, to
Yeah.
look back on and have those friendships. I still I'm not great at keeping in contact with people, but I still have numbers, have friends on Facebook with them, and they've got their own Discord and that. And I'm horrendous at going in and saying hi to them and stuff like that. But once in the blue moon, I might get an invite to something or pick up to a game, and it will just be kind of like old times, the banter between the people that you've known for like 15 years and gamed with.
Yeah, definitely. Nice. All right. Well, nice segue into the next bit in terms of where, from a link up perspective. So you're obviously one of the OGs from the link up. You've been going pretty much as long.
2002, I think, would have been my first.
Yes, that was my first year.
experience.
So me and Acidic have been going the same amount of time. 23 is our 23rd year. 2 more years, and then we get the quarter of a century.
Woohoo! What do we get with that?
I don't know. We'll have to think about it. I mean, surely we must get some sort of maybe a plaque or an ornament to what's the word? Cherish, shall we say?
Cherish, commemorate.
Yeah, commemorate. No, not commemorate.
Oh no, it's not dead. No, that's true.
No, it's not dead. No,
Celebrate. We'll say celebrate.
Yeah, celebrate. That's the one. So, Acidic and I've been going for a very, very long time. What are you most looking forward to about this year's link up, and like, what are you sort of feeling? What's your sort of feeling towards the link up as we're only 19 days away now?
Only 19. Yeah. I mean, for me, the link up has become. It's more spending time with friends, right? That's the crux of it these days. Like, I love the gaming. I am known to be critical of how the link ups progress. It's not like it used to be. Life was much simpler in the early link up days, where there were less games to play, and there were ways of everybody being able to play games.
Well, no, I mean, but it's probably a good something to mention, because there'll be a lot of people listening to the podcast and watching on YouTube who will have no clue how we gamed back in the day. So back in the day, one of us would buy a physical copy on CD of the game, so whatever game that would be, and then one of us would then crack the CD. So we had.
I wasn't sure if we were going to go into that territory or mention.
Everyone did it. Everyone did it back then.
Okay, that's fine.
So we were there. You would have a CD crack and a no CD crack. So we would then send the CD round one side of the room, and then we'd send the file for the no CD crack round the other side of the room, and everyone would install the game at that time, and then we would all just play that game. Whereas now it's right. What do we want to play? So what's the one that's just on the chat at the moment? Chivalry 2 has just come up on our. We have a link up WhatsApp group.
Yeah, it's free at the moment.
Chivalry 2 has literally just come up, and Sentry's just said free game, Chivalry 2, and it's on the possible list of games, and it's free, and it's like, okay, most people will probably download it because it's free. We've all played Chivalry.
How many people do you want to guarantee don't actually bother adding it to it, even though it's free?
Quite a lot.
I bet there's at least 3 people that are like, oh. It was free. I don't know.
Whereas
I think the fact that people think free games are not worth their time. Like they're almost they're free because they should be free.
It's not a free game in such that it's a free to play game. It's just it's on this week's offer for being free with Epic. I think there is a difference between, but there are plenty of quality games out there which are free to play games.
Oh, I mean, I'm flying the X-Defiant band flag. For the link up, and I think that it's going to be a game if we haven't played it. If I would download it and just start giving it a play, because I think it's just going to be like,
what game is that? X-Defiant.
X-Defiant on Ubisoft. It's free to play. There's loads of different modes, but essentially there's like a Team Fortress 2 mode. So you've got a guide this thing round the map.
Bullshit little card.
There's a domination mode, conquest mode. So I've played it a little bit now. Really like it, and so I'll be playing a lot more of that in the next couple of weeks. It's a great free to play game.
And this is literally how we now have to decide how to play a game. Like someone will go, like Devastate's gone, oh look, what do you think to X-Defiant? And then we put it to the rest of the group in the WhatsApp, and then we all think, oh, maybe yes or no. Whereas to Acidic's point, back in the day, we literally I've got a game. We're all going to play it now, and let's go.
There was no cost. I mean, that's the thing, though. There was less to choose from, but 2, there wasn't a cost involved. You don't really have an argument of like, oh, I don't own this game because we've got one here. If nobody likes it, all you've done is lost a couple of hours because you've played it. But you would have strange and weird games that people would come out with a multiplayer that we'd all just download and play. The problem is these days is because everything is online, everybody needs to own it because of everything has to be linked to an account, right?
Yeah.
So
I
then
mean,
it's a case of, can you sell the benefits to someone, because it's not cheap. Like if you think of these days, how many games we would play at a link up to own those games, especially if they're brand new games that people want to play. Like one or two people want to play a game that looks really good that's brand new, and that's 40 quid. You only need like 3 new games and you're over 100 quid already
Yeah.
invested on games that, for the most part, and this is kind of like a side thing from the link, unless you end up being really invested in that game and loving it, you ain't playing it again outside the link up.
Yeah,
Right?
which is why there's scenarios where, and it's happened in last year. I did it where I'll download a game on Steam, I'll play an hour and a half and go, nah, refund.
yeah, that's the one
Whereas,
good thing with Steam now. You get that 2 hour
yeah,
That is
window.
good. Yeah, you do have that 2 hour window.
yeah,
But some games are really good, and it's just the case that, well, we're not going to meet up in any way, shape, or form to get. You're not going to be playing with your mates. There's this is great because we're all together on the same team, or we're against each other in a big room like this. But as we all know, trying to organize something. How many years did we spend saying, right, okay, this is the game that we were playing at the link. This is great. We're gonna try and organize like a weekly or a bi-weekly
are we
meetup.
gonna get a
We're all gonna get on
server?
and play. And
And
it
then, yeah,
doesn't,
never happens. Never happens. And
because
just
the link up lives in this little microcosm where
yeah,
where the focus is the games, the gamings, the food, the banter, the
yeah,
catching up with people.
and
You don't think about outside life. Like outside life is just like, see you later. Like we don't think about work, and well, obviously we think about families and stuff like that we said, but that's our main priority. As soon as the link up and that week off is over, then it's like back to normal life, work,
yeah.
families,
Yeah.
children.
And we've got
Sleeping.
old, and we've to Siddick's point, we've got old Facebook groups from where we tried to, which I think are still there, but no one's ever posted them in years.
I still own the ARL, which was what I tried to do as our clan tag for the
Yeah,
Royal Link Up,
yeah.
the annual Royal Link Up, which
And
is probably
that would
about
have been like
15.
20, well, not
That
quite
would be
20
about
years ago.
15 years ago, I would
Yeah,
say.
15 years ago
Yeah.
when we tried to create a clan for the link up and have an ARL, but yeah, it never materialized because, to Acidic's point, like we just game during that week, and then most of us now go back to normality, and then go back to
And
our
everyone's schedule is different on who's free
yeah,
when and what they can
yeah,
do. And to their credit, like over the last couple of years, there's still like a core group of people that will meet up, or not meet up, but we'll get online and game together. There's people that do it all the time for certain games, and then there's certainly people like you, Devastate, and we'll do some RTSs with some of the other people that play them.
Yeah.
And
I
Beef,
still play
you'll
I still
play
play League every
League
day,
with people that
literally every day.
from the same group. So
Yeah, exactly.
I do just want to
Exactly.
throw back quickly just what we were saying about when we were throwing the disc essentially around the room of installing games. But the reason we also were doing that is that's because a lot of games at the time supported LAN functionality. Like you could create a private game within people within your on the LAN, and that functionality has completely
yeah.
disappeared from a lot of games.
Well, lads are dead because of the internet, aren't they?
Well,
Like
yeah.
it's not. I think everything is gaming online. It's not, LAN centric. I mean, I remember the first game I think was Counter-Strike Source was the first game that we ever played that you needed to be logged in and have it locked into your account on
Yeah.
Steam. This is back when Steam literally was just the games that came out with Valve, which have been like Counter-Strike, Day of Defeat, 0 Hour, the Half-Life series, and that was it. Everything else was kind of like offline. You don't need the internet to verify that you have the proper copy. But also, yeah, it wasn't internet-based servers that you would. I mean, they had capabilities for both. They started doing internet servers, or direct connection to people's internets and stuff like that. Going back to Doom, you could get mods to do that, but for the most part of games, it was literally IPX network, LAN network, is how you played multiplayer on those old games.
Yeah,
And I
and
think
to your
no, carry
go
on.
on, Dempsey. No, I was going to say. I was going to say with regards to obviously LAN capability being in games back in the day. To your point around LANs aren't really a thing. In the news last week, Insomnia Gaming Festival, the company who owns it, has basically just gone into just disappeared off the face of the planet.
Really?
Really?
That's sad. Like
And it's
the
like
core of what
Insomnia.
a LAN is still something that could be appreciated. You know.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There's a lot of people in a lot of our comments who are roughly our age who say, "Oh, I used to do LANs back in the day, but then friends just sort of drifted apart, and as it would be, and I still game, etc." And there's someone commenting on one of the TikToks from yesterday, but basically saying that and like how much they're looking forward to the link up and seeing what we do, because are we the only people in the world who do something like this? Genuinely, I don't know.
There are still people that do smaller things.
Yeah, but not a week long. Not a week long. I think like a weekend
Like
weekend
weekends,
LAN.
weekends.
Yeah, a
and
weekend
stuff.
LAN. But
And I mean, there are still companies that host like big LAN events.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
Dream
But I
some of
mean,
them, wasn't it? Yeah.
DreamHack.
DreamHack,
yeah,
yeah.
DreamHack.
Yeah, because DreamHack
So
commented on one of our videos from last year, didn't they?
I
Yeah.
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what you know, the essence of what a LAN party is almost lost on something like a big event like that, right? You could go
Yeah.
with all your mates, but it's not the same.
No.
Like we could all go to a DreamHack event. We could have 10 of us go and take our PCs, but it's not just 10 of us alone in a room. It's 10 of us in a room of 2,000.
Yeah.
And it's not like we're all playing the game. We're all on the same teams. But unfortunately, games also aren't now really well
Tailored towards it.
designed
Yeah.
for, because that LAN capability is gone and it's not really a thing, and it's all internet based because a lot of people obviously are at home and gaming, and it makes them easier for it. There's just a case of it's just you and you join up with random people. Like we have so many problems every year trying to get games that we can just play against each other. Like Battlefield is a classic one, which we've done throughout the whole of the link, like from 1942, the original Battlefield, all the way through to whatever number of sci-fi 2756 we're on now. But you know, that was my favorite game for a long time.
Yeah.
Like
I think it was everyone's favorite game for a
we
long
played
time.
those early links the first couple of years I went there. We probably played like 4 or 5 different games, and that's it. I remember we would sit there and play like 8 hours solid of Battlefield 1942. We'd have like 14 people on a 7x7. We'd game till 6 in the morning just playing 1942 because it was all LAN based and that. But now it's on the internet, and LAN, it's a product of, it's sadly a product of, I think, of making money by the big companies, right? Because you've got, everyone's got the level up and progression is a thing in games now, right? Especially like the Battlefield games, but all those sort of things, like, you know, it's a way of getting you invested in a game and sticking with a game. You know, that excitement of, oh, let's level up, what do I get? You know, is there much of an advantage to it? No, realistically. But you know, you want to build up your character, get new weapons that are,
It's bragging rights, isn't it?
It is bragging rights, yeah. But the problem is you can't do like a friends only game, because then people would just absolutely abuse the hell out of it by, you know, having like half a dozen people together, or even like 2 people together, and they're like, all right, well, I'm gonna headshot you 1,000 times to get this award, this achievement, unlock this gun. But sadly, it means for us, what generally the case is we, even if we hire our own server for things like if we want to play Battlefield, it's a case that we have, you know, there is no XP game, so it's just the base weapons and that's it. There's no customization to it. Or it's an open one, but then we're playing with random people, and there's not really a filter to be like, hey, you know, stop that, you're all level 1 or level 5. And of course, some of these games are popular with people and play in the group, so they play it already, right? So they might be level 50 or level 100, and they've got better gear, which is fine because they're invested in the game. But you know, when you open it up to other people, then you've got like random people level 300 coming in and just absolutely murking it and ruins the fun. But on the flip side of that, the people that are invested in the game already, that are part of the group, they're like, well, I don't want to play with like the basic stuff because I enjoy playing with what I got. So it makes it a lot harder for those games, because Battlefield used to be such a big part of our link ups, and now it's minuscule. Like, we
tiny.
really don't play it that much.
Because
Besides the fact we all have to own it.
Yeah, I mean, are all of us gonna go and play the new COD? Very unlikely.
Yeah.
Very unlikely. But I think we'd much rather. I think all of us would much rather go and play. What was the one we played last year? Was it Battlefield 4 where we got the server last year?
5?
It might have been 5.
It was 4 or 5, but like we got a server last year for that Battlefield, and that Battlefield came out in like 2009. So it's very, very old, but it still looked good, still played good, but we didn't have the numbers to play it, because it was a level playing field in that no one had any special weapons, skins, etc., etc. We're all just base level, go and find whatever gun you start with, and go from there. And it was really good. But yeah, to your point, I mean, I can't see us playing any CODs. At all, particularly. I mean, I dread to think. I haven't even looked. What does a new COD cost? Probably 45, 50 quid.
Oh, must be
Probably,
70 or 80 quid for the
And then you can probably
ultimate
buy.
version.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. Because we were talking about this with Ace last year, and you can like ultimate versions, etc., etc., and like it just gives you more parts of the game which you can then potentially unlock. But then if you think back, acidic to when like we would buy the original Halo, and you could buy the base game, or you could buy the base game, in the helmet. But
you get the collector's edition, which came with sweet stuff, right? You'd
Yeah.
get some sort of trophy, you get the art book, soundtrack, you know. And then they kind of moved it on to things like, oh, you could unlock like a special mount or a special skins with certain games and that. But now, I mean, they throw everything together with DLC. The problem is games that they don't. I feel like games these days, it's a case of they don't come out with the whole game. They like leave stuff out and then stick it as, hey, you can get this stuff, which is DLC, which is going to cost you more. I don't understand. How can a game come out with DLC straight away? Like, hey, we're releasing this game with DLC. It's like, well,
it's
exactly
the base game. It should just be in the game, right?
You can get the base game flavor A, or you can get the base game with the DLC. It's flavor A and B, and it's only 50% more.
Exactly.
I went into a whole mini rant on that, and and microtransactions on last week's podcast.
Microtransactions and loot boxes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like
chaos.
Chaos is candy to kids.
I mean, but like, on the flip side, you think I've been playing League of Legends since 2012, and I'm still yet to spend a single penny on it.
Really? See, back when I did used to play some League of Legends. We played Anivia, the fastest bird in the world. While the game was free, I appreciated the amount of time that I spent and the enjoyment I got from it, that I brought a few skins for it. You know, I didn't heavily invest. There are certain people within the Royal League community who used to legitimately buy the Super Spangly pack for whatever new hero came out every single week.
Yeah,
God knows how much they spent on them.
4 figures spent on 4 figures spent on League. Not even joking. And
I was thinking of Ice. I mean, I imagine.
I mean, oh no, the other person.
Well, Ice used to do it back when he played.
Yeah.
But every single week that they came out with something, he would buy the full pack with all the skins that came out, which were probably like 30 quid or something.
Yeah, 30 quid, something like that, probably. Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't played the game in a long, long time. Yeah, I appreciate the people that you still play with. Some of them, considering they've been playing for the last 10 plus years, then I imagine they probably have spent more than that now.
Yes. Yeah. Right. So hopefully that gives you guys on the podcast a good idea of Acidic and sort of his gaming career, where it started from, and his thoughts on gaming, etc., etc. But now let's sort of move into sort of present day. What do you like to do outside of gaming? So when you're not gaming, what do you get up to?
Well, actually, I don't really move away from gaming in my spare time.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so my passion these days, when I have the time, is streaming. I enjoy streaming.
Shout out your name.
Oh, it's acidic_virus_. You have
On
a
Twitch?
family on Twitch. Yes, we stream solely to Twitch, though. We are going to be. We're in the process of doing some exclusive YouTube content, basically games that I will just play offline and record to put on YouTube because as something different, something that's narrative heavy driven. But yeah, I've been streaming for over 4 years now. Just coming up this week to 3 years being affiliate, which was an absolute slog to get to. Which
I remember when you got it.
you'll also know what that journey's
Yep.
like.
Yep.
So, but yeah, like I mean, I have a family, so I have children that I look after. I work night shift for my work, so it really kind of screws up with schedule and time is very short that's spare. But I try and stream sort of 2-3 times a week, generally towards the end of the week. Thursday and Friday afternoons are generally my guaranteed time, and then I try and do something one evening, either on a Friday or a Saturday. But yeah, I don't really step outside of gaming. That's what I enjoy doing. But these days, that's my gaming time, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I don't have time to game outside of when I'm streaming, other than like maybe an hour here or an hour there. So it kind of combines the two, which is quite nice.
What are you streaming on Twitch?
So I would categorize myself as variety at the moment. I was solely a TLD player, which is the Long Dark, which is a survival game. I probably pretty much solely played that for a year and a half, I'd say. But as mentioned, that my time is pretty much the time that I have to game is my streaming availability. Then we've got into variety. So at the moment, I'm playing Icewind Dale, which is a not quite a clone, but it's in the same vein by the same company as the original Baldur's Gate. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of Baldur's Gate 3 and have enjoyed it, but I have played the original Baldur's Gate 2, Icewind Dale, on and off since it first came out. So I played the original Baldur's Gate and its add-on, which is terrible, Siege of Dragonspear. Stream through that whole series. I've just finished doing Icewind Dale. We're going to do the add-on soon, and then I'll move on to Baldur's Gate 2, and then I will finally play Baldur's Gate 3, which I have been waiting to play for over a year. So we're doing that. I'm in the process of playing Dark Souls 3 at the moment. I'm about to jump back into it because we got sidetracked because another Crab's Treasure came out, which is kind of like I would call it a Souls-like game. It's a Souls game where you're a hermit crab looking for its shell.
That's got
And
incredible reviews. I was watching a couple of streamers talk about Crab's Treasure, and they were saying it's fantastic.
I think it's a great game. Yeah, I literally this afternoon 100%ed, got all the achievements, got the last few bits that I needed, killed the last boss this afternoon, and got the last bits. I think it's a fantastic game. It is definitely Souls-like in rage moments. I would say it's probably not as hard as generic Souls games, Dark Souls, Elden Ring, those sort of things. It's not as hard. It's more forgiving. And obviously, it's quite colorful. It's under the sea. Like some of the graphics are beautiful. Like when you get deep under the sea, and they've got like all these neons and fluorescence. It's really beautiful. But Dark Souls-esque is usually very quite dark and grimy, so it is kind of polar opposite to that. But I definitely think it's a fantastic game. You should play it, and I think I would say it's a good introduction into the Souls game, even though it is in a way kind of opposite. But it is more forgiving than the Souls game. So yeah, about to go back into Dark Souls 3, and yeah, trying to find time to play the Long Dark still. They've got an update coming out soon, so looking forward to that.
And you go competition mode, don't you, with Long Dark?
Yeah, there's a small community. It's quite a niche. It's not a niche. It's an indie game. So the Long Dark is a survival game. It's basically after like an electrical storm, none of the electrics work. You are in the Canadian wilderness, and the long and the short of it is the idea is to survive as long as possible. You are measured on how warm you are, how fed you are, if you're thirsty, and your energy. And there's no other people in the game. You don't play with anyone else. It's a solo experience. There are no NPCs in the game at all. I mean, there's a story mode to the game, which is very good. Is worth a playthrough, but I play the survival mode, which is kind of like a sandbox. See how long you can survive. There's different levels of difficulty. You can come up with your own sort of custom challenges. I'm doing one at the moment, a custom challenge where we're in just one particular region and seeing how long we can last without going anywhere else. But really, your dangers are basically the elements and the wildlife. There's bears, there's wolves, there's moose. They can all kill you. But really, it's just kind of like surviving and trying to thrive. But it's a permadeath game, so but it's the only permadeath game that I've ever really played that really draws you in, and once you literally just want to go again. Like, it's got a steep learning curve. You'll die a lot in the game, but I find it very rewarding. And there's lots of different ways you can play it. Lots of people play it for different reasons. A lot of people enjoy the artwork. A lot of people use it as a very relaxing, because it is borderline a walking simulator as well. So there are people that play it on the low settings, pacifist mode. None of the wildlife can attack them. There's an abundance of resources out there, of food. There's weapons, and they just enjoy, exploring and surviving and like making their little bases and things like that. Whereas we're a little bit more of a masochist, and we play on the hardest settings, air quotes, that we can get. And for me, it's about challenging myself and how far I can push myself within the game.
Nice.
But yeah, that's probably our favorite game. One of, I mean, I've been playing it for, well, technically I got affiliated from playing it, so I've been playing it 3 years now. And while we haven't been playing it that as much as we used to over the last year, we are over 3,000 hours in the game. So that kind of like gives you an idea, like,
That's a lot of time.
of how much I enjoy it and how repeatable it is. Because the great thing is no two runs are the same in that game. Like, loot spawns are random, the weather's random, stuff like that. So you'll never have two games that are the same when you jump in it, which I think is kind of the appeal for people, how they're able to just kind of jump in and start again.
That's 125 days for those of you listening.
Yeah, we spent a third of a year
Non-stop, 24 hours a day.
It. Yeah, honestly, I used to play like,
I know you did.
Well, I used to stream it. Like, I used to do like 150 hours a month, 200 hours.
Jeez, that is some numbers.
I can still do I can still sit down and do like 10, 12 hours of the game if I've got the time to do it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think as we get, it's responsibilities, isn't it? I think as we got older, we've got more responsibilities and less time. But then when we do get the time, i.e. the link up, we just go absolutely hard on it sometimes.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So basically, we've understood there. So outside of the link up, Acidic does more gaming. So he basically he is a gamer through and through.
I'm a gameaholic.
Exactly.
I'm not ashamed.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. We will put a link, Devastate, to Acidic's Twitch, and
I'll run some video footage over this. So by now you would have seen some of the stuff that Acidic Virus put out on Twitch. So make sure you do go and definitely go and follow him. And if you like his content, subscribe.
Yeah, I'll be doing streaming bits at the link up as well, from sort of like my PC, my perspective of the room and what we're playing and that. So I know I'm not sure 100% what the plan is for the TikTok and the streams from the Royal Link Up perspective, but most days I should be on for at least a good few hours streaming whatever games we're playing. So hop in if you want to see the perspective and see what we're up to.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Acidic will be on one side of the room, and myself and probably Devastate will be on the other side of the room. So you'll be able to get a good perspective from both sides of the room from a link up point of view. Nice. Thank you for your all of your questions that we've asked you, Acidic. That's been a great insight to you, shall we say? Next part from a podcast perspective would be to plug the merch, as me and Devastate are sporting them today.
Good.
Acidic will be getting his shortly as well. So if you want to go and check out any of the merch, go to theroyallinkup.com and check out the shop there. All the merch is now available. Outside of that, Devastate, is there anything else that we need to cover today? Or I think we're done, aren't we?
Yeah, the only thing I was just going to touch on is that by the time this goes out, we would have at least done one live gaming stream. So I would have been live on YouTube. So if you want to come and watch, do some live content, want to feel free, have a chat to me. We can play whatever games. Like, we're going to do a live stream, certainly once a week, maybe twice. But yes, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss when we go live. Yeah, just a little quick plug there to a bit more content on the channel.
No, I think that goes for both YouTube and TikTok as well, because when Devastate streams on YouTube, I'll be streaming on TikTok and possibly x.com as well. So make sure you're subscribed to all of our socials, links in the description, and make sure you got all your notifications on so you don't miss an opportunity to see us live in the run up to the link up, because we are only 19 days away, and you do not want to be missing this year's content.
Yeah, and just one final shout out. I did say at the beginning of the video, I'll mention it again now. If you didn't watch last week's episode with Ace, go and watch it. There's a competition where you can win 2 free tickets to Zombie Infection, worth £200. So go in. It's got the criteria on that video to go and do, but make sure you go and do it while the opportunity is there. I just want to say thank you very much to Acidic Virus for joining us. Thank you very much to B for fielding the questions. I've been Devastate.
I've been the amazing Sniper Beef.
And I'm Acidic Virus.
Thank you very much, guys. Not long to go.
19 days. We'll see you there.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.